All right, welcome to the Town Council meeting for June 13, 2017. We're going to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll take a moment of silence. Use it as you wish. Thank you. Now we're going to make the announcement in accordance with the Mass General laws. We are taping the meeting. Anybody else taping? Marilyn, you're not taping today?
Not today.
All right. Public comments, we have none. Council response?
Council comments? Thank you, Mr. President. So it's no secret that I've actually put the word out that I intend to resign my position from the town council. It will be effective probably the end of the summer. So I just wanted to take a moment and kind of announce that I am going to be doing that. Although I've not yet done it formally, I do intend to do it. And for this purpose, I'm bringing it up for this purpose. I really want to speak to the folks, the towns, the residents of East Long Meadow, and really encourage them to get involved. I'd encourage anybody that's had any thoughts of being a member of the town council, come forward to the council, make it known that you might be interested in the position, might be interested in the appointment. I think that interest from multiple folks is only better for the town and serves the town well. So that's really my whole purpose for putting it out so early. My intentions to resign from the council is hoping to spark some interest, although I'm very happy that Joe and Mike both were re-elected. I was somewhat disappointed that only the second election of the town council there wasn't more interest shown. And having been a member of the Charter Commission, I was a little disappointed in that. So I'm encouraging residents, here's a position, you don't have to run a campaign. Come forward, make it known to the council that you have an interest so that you can be considered and get involved in the community. It's a very rewarding job. I've enjoyed it for the many years I've been involved in the town. My one regret with the things going on in my personal life is that I'll no longer be able to continue this. But outside of that, so to those folks listening at home and those folks here, if you have any thoughts or inclination to get involved, I encourage you to, and here's an opportunity for you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else? Denise, town manager report.
Good evening. Congratulations, first of all, to the two councilmen that were re-elected last Tuesday. It shows confidence in the board the way it is, and that's a positive thing. The Council on Aging's pilot program that will provide transportation to East Long Meadow, and Hampden is set to begin July 1st, so that's right around the corner. In the spirit of good things often result from problems, it appears the 4th of July celebration is moving forward and has brought attention to the possibility of establishing other community events such as the Taste of East Long Meadow and East Long Meadow road race. There's been discussion about changing the 4th of July parade committee to a Spirit of East Long Meadow parade committee. More will follow on that. There have been people that have stepped up and just said, I know you've got problems getting, this was earlier, getting the carnival together or getting the fireworks together. And a number of people have come forward and said, I'd like to help. I've given them their names to Ryan, who is the parade committee chairman, to start working on possibly some future events to bring more of East Long Meadow's spirit together. So that's a pretty cool outcome from something that was pretty difficult for a little while there. East Long Meadow, Hampden, and Chicopee have made great strides toward a regional dispatch plan that will serve the needs of all four communities. This group, referred to as Westcom, consists of police, fire, and chief elected and appointed officials of each community, along with IT support from East Long Meadow and Chicopee, and the vendor, I forgot the vendor's name, that is doing the radio work. Attorney Donahue has reviewed the district agreement. He has a few comments of substance. We're meeting tomorrow, and they would like to get to help make sure that we move forward with the grant, which is millions of dollars, this grant, to have that district agreement in place as quickly as possible. I'll be bringing it to the council at the next meeting. I'll get a final draft of it to you all as soon as Attorney Donahue's comments have been reviewed. We just got the final draft from the larger committee last week, and I passed it on to Jim, and he got the comments back to me pretty quickly. I met with Attorney Donahue last Tuesday to get updates on a few legal matters. On Fagara, Attorney Donahue was providing a draft entertainment license to the attorney for the restaurant last week. It was to reflect the parameters the council requested, and Attorney Donahue expected that it would be well received by the restaurant. Tree 413, Attorney Donahue drafted a request for default last week that is expected to lead to a default judgment ordering cleanup of the property and fines as well, payment of the fines. The town has had a problem with the butters using the town property known as Pine Knoll for dumping of trash. They've actually created gardens on the town's property. There's a lot of mess. There was a lot of mess there. Some of it has already been, the major piece has been cleaned up. What they were doing was basically extending their yards into the town's property. Attorney Donahue is going to be sending all the abutters so that everybody's treated the same. They all get the message to pull back their stuff into their own yards.
Are the boundary lines obvious?
I think with the terrain, some of it they are. We talked about having it surveyed. That would be quite an expense. Usually you have pins at the back of your property anyway, so you should be able to, we'll point that out to them if they can't find their pins.
I can say as a real estate attorney, it'd be nice to say that most properties have pins on it, but the reality is that they don't. And so perhaps there's a way they can sort of identify the property lines without it being precisely the pin survey. I remember on our early planning board days, we would ask all subdivisions to put pins in as a condition, and I can tell you that was a wish and wasn't usually followed up by a lot, even more modern subdivisions. So one would hope that's clear. It might be innocent encroachments, but if there's a way that the line can be somewhat more defined, that would be probably make it easier.
I don't know how we could do that without going, that's a large piece of property, without going to the expense of
Maybe show a picture of the GIS. The GIS is certainly not conclusive, but it's certainly better than nothing.
It does pretty much define it.
Go ahead.
What about the abutting properties? Maybe it'd be easier to, go to.
Most of them, if they bought a property in the last 15, 20 years, they got a
Theirs
plot.
might be more defined.
They have a plot plan.
Yeah.
Where their property lines are.
So we should be able to.
It's kind of a condition for title insurance. So
Yeah.
they may have something there, but it may not. Again, it's a plus or minus thing.
I can at least pass it by planning and the building official and see what
Or
they
Or
think.
even
The assessors.
Jim. Yeah, or the assessors
Assessors.
might have assessor cards.
Assessor. Good thoughts, thank you. As you're aware, the Public Works Superintendent resigned effective June 30th of this year. The transition plan for the vacancy is as follows. The Building Facilities Manager, Bruce Feeney, has agreed to assume the day-to-day administrative pieces of the superintendent's position until a replacement is found. And I've contracted with an outside engineering firm to address the engineering pieces of that position. After meeting with Bruce and Bob and Highways and Utilities Division Manager Roy Esposito, who will be impacted by Bruce being less available, I'm very, very confident that for the short term, Public Works matters will be addressed. I did a lot of what ifs. What about the lady that has the water issue? And there was not one that they did not look me straight in the eye and looked very comfortable that they're going to be able to figure it out, anticipating that they would be having to do a little bit more starting July 1st. They've done some things early this year so that they'll be able to do that. The reason that it's taken a little bit of a while to advertise the position is we did a survey for comparable salaries, and and a job description that is more comprehensive. We're trying to do that, especially with the major positions, and this is one that actually has to come to you all for approval when it's ready. We want to be sure that we're doing comparable salary and we have the right description for the position. It was a small one-page job description prior, so it's taken a little while, but it's out there, and we expect to, be attracting some folks. Also related to Public Works, the Board of Public Works, actually, member John Mayberry came to see me a couple of weeks ago. He submitted letters of resignation for the 3 current board members effective June 30th, 2017. Mr. Mayberry stated that the advisory role of the board, due to the charter change, was less than the current board members were used to and capable of. They felt that it was time for new people to take on these new advisory board positions. We're therefore looking for volunteers interested in being appointed to the Board of Public Works. Mr. Mayberry offered any of the current members advice on any public works matters if needed. I want to thank the outgoing members for their many years of service to the community. Long Meadows Town Meeting approved the proposed medical building DIF at their town meeting. So you all had approved our piece, conditional upon their approving it. Now that's going to start moving forward. I spoke with the town manager in Long Meadow about we need some kind of inter-town agreement regarding the monies related to the DIF, so that's moving forward. I've attached for your information the results of the Planning Department's survey on drive-through service in the town. And the survey was done in preparation for possible request for a change in the bylaws to allow drive-through. There's a few pages of charts, but then there's a lot of comments that are very interesting to read. We've been working on a number of grants, including $25,000 for assistance with a wage and salary classification study, $20,000 to assist with identifying, tagging, and creating a database of town fixed assets, $40,000 for an extension of our fiber network, along with the joint application for Westcom, the regional dispatch, and grants related to emergency management. I just signed one the other day, and fire and police. You'll begin to see changes to the forms for the license applications, liquor license, entertainment license. As we're getting comments from you all and from the town attorney, I know one of the things he said is we should be more specific in our entertainment. We're doing a lot of research on that, what other towns might have that's a better way of doing it. The application is just something that is unique to each town, so we can certainly ask certain questions that other towns are already asking to just sort of hone in for you all to make a better decision. What we're finding also is that our fees are very low compared to surrounding towns. So I've asked Marge to put a chart together with that so that the fees, the comparison of fees from different towns are, that's something that you all would probably want to weigh in on. So once that information is gathered, we'll get that to you. The reduction to a single lane on Maple Street, although it caused a lot of phone calls and visits, not all friendly, has reduced accidents. We have not had one in a week and a half, and we saw one just about every day there. So it's an experiment. It's still an experiment, but it seems to be something that we can maybe work on honing in exactly the right way to do it, because actually last week I was going to Greenwich for a sandwich, and somebody was speeding in the shoulder, and I almost got hit because I thought it was only one lane and somebody was using it as two. So they really need to figure out how it would work, if that's the permanent solution. Again, that's a ways away. They're going to be letting it stay the way it is for now. That's my report for this evening. Respectfully submitted, Denise Menard.
The only comment, if I could, on the, just when you look at the survey on the drive-throughs, you just have to qualify. I talked to Robin McDonald, and there was a few people that supported it, only if it was for coffee.
Right.
And just to give a little history on it, I was on the planning board at the time that we tightened it up for items for human consumption back in '99. And one of the directives we had from the state back in the day is trying to find strategies to reduce car emissions. And one of the things the planning board's been doing for all the years I was on is having every subdivision, even small ones like the one I'm in with 5 houses, have everyone have sidewalks, and trying to encourage that, and also reduce the amount of emissions by reducing the amount of idling cars. So this has always been an East Long Meadow kind of thing. And lastly, the survey was not all East Long Meadow people. I mean, there's no pretense that Dunkin' Donuts is a strong proponent of it. They're considering putting a new location, and they feel that a drive-through is part and parcel to their business model. But that's all I wanted to add to the equation.
What would be the pros to it?
The pros? Don't ask me.
Just curious.
You know,
You need to
one of the
ask-
things that
ask
people
the
were
guys
talking about is
proposing it.
having it for pharmacies, and they'll say that help elderly people and so forth. While I was on the Cape this past weekend, I took a picture of our local CVS, and there's a big sign in the window, and I have it on my phone, the picture, and it says, "Ask us about curbside delivery." So if someone comes in and has a need, there's no need to have it necessarily a drive-through. They can get somebody from CVS, and there's already precedent. I said it's the one in Yarmouth, and they do that. And so if there's 1 or 2 people that need to have something delivered to the car for them, vendors can do that without changing the whole structure of the building. Again, that's just me.
All right, so we'll move on to 6. I'll entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes as amended. Don, that was your amendment requested
I think it was.
for May 9th, 2017.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. In
It's moved
person.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
Let's see. Entertain a motion to approve the May 23rd, 2017 open session minutes.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Kathy seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the May 23rd, 2017 executive session minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Could I comment regarding the minutes that I just think Jeannie does an outstanding job?
Yes,
Oh
she
my
does.
God, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You really do.
No pressure, though. Don't
No,
worry about it.
none whatsoever, but no, she does a really, really good job.
Tom, do you have the proclamation?
Yeah, well, next on the agenda, it's the a proclamation for Diane Tiago. We haven't done many as a unit, as a council, and we were asked, Diane Tiago, she is a 29-year employee in the East Long Meadow school system, is retiring, and she's having a retirement dinner on this Friday, at the Knights of Columbus, and I was asked if I could present something for the council. And I talked to Denise and Kevin, and we'd like to present a proclamation. It'll be on nicer paper and color and everything. But I wanted to recognize Diane here at the council meeting for her years of service and what she's done for the school, and also as a
Library trustee.
15-member library trustee and appointed for another 3 years.
Just reappointed, yeah, she decided to.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that's, we'll be presenting that to Diane this Friday coming up.
Very good.
And you got the election
Yes,
results.
as you know, last Tuesday, we had our annual town election. And Mother Nature tried to grab us early, and it rained pretty good. Well, it was not a good golf day, it was not a good beach day. It's,
Not good anything day.
But as the heavy rain subsided during the day, more and more people came out. And before I talk about the results, through Ryan Quimby and Jeannie and working with Denise, we have a document we're going to put on the website for every election. And what it does is it shows real-time actual hourly counts. So it shows how many people actually voted per hour. Obviously, you can't get a result of who voted for who, but it gives a nice hourly trend on, when people do come in to vote. So, and as time goes by, it's a good historical thing too. You see, when the peaks are, and
So we can stop bothering you, is that what you're saying?
yeah, maybe.
It's part of the job.
Fair enough.
So, and it's good, but it's good for people to see how busy an election is, and they can do it on your tablet, on your iPhone, and your PC, your laptop. So.
What do we end up with percentage-wise, Tom?
Yeah, we had 16.3% of turnout. You have 11,815 registered voters, and 1,926 people came out to vote. I know I said around 15% for an election, anywhere between 15 and 20 for an annual election. With we had one race is pretty good. However, I did think that question did bring out a few extra people and prohibiting the retail sale of marijuana. So the results. Joe and Mike got reelected. Write-ins, Ralph Page got 116 write-in votes. And Mike got 1,383 and Joe 1,338. And for the school committee, I'll just do the percentages. Rich Ficero got 45%, Gregory Thompson 29%, and Michael Torsha got 26%.
Jonathan?
I'm sorry, my fault. Jonathan Torsha, my fault.
26%.
26%, so it was a good race for the school committee. And again, question one, the ballot question prohibiting the operation of all types of marijuana establishments, 77% said yes to prohibiting it. So that was a pretty overwhelming response. And it is a binding vote. And the next step is updating the current marijuana bylaws and voting on a new ordinance to be discussed at the July 11th council meeting, which will be a joint, no pun intended, a joint meeting with, I didn't mean it to come out like that, a joint meeting with the planning board.
He can't help himself.
Sometimes.
Denise, would it be appropriate to have the town council draft the draft article for consideration at that meeting? Well, I know we can't vote on it at that meeting. It has to go for a public hearing and so on, like any other bylaw, but may as well get the ball rolling. I view that as a pretty resounding
Yeah, it was.
directive by the residents of the community.
I think Amy may already have samples of that from other towns, and she can pass them by the town attorney.
Okay.
Last thing I might say is the election workers and the registrars did an outstanding job, as they do with all the elections. Very fortunate to have dedicated people like that.
Good job. So we have, let's see,
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes before our public hearing.
We'll do St. Mark's license, I suppose.
We want to go out of order. So we'll take the,
We can do 9A1.
Yeah.
so I'll entertain a motion to take 9A1 out of order.
So moved. Or second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 9A1, we have a one-day beer and wine permit for St. Mark's Episcopal Church for June 16th, 2017, from 5 to 7:30. So entertain a motion to approve St. Mark's
So moved.
permit.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Well, that took 2 minutes. Probably, you guys are ready, or?
Didn't even take them.
All right. So we can do the public hearing now?
If they're
We have to
You
take
gotta
the
wait.
wait.
You
You have to wait till
You
6:30?
have to wait
Yeah.
till 6:30, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty precise. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we just gotta wait till,
3 minutes?
Yeah.
We look forward to B3, the summer schedule.
We can do that, B3.
I don't know what the summer schedule is. What are you going for?
We just wanted to meet, I think,
Once a month?
once a month.
Okay.
Second Tuesday.
We'll entertain a motion to take B3 under new business out of order.
So moved.
So
second.
move.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so town council meeting summer schedule. So we had talked about kicked around the idea, I think, of just doing one meeting
Yeah,
a month.
I mean, we have one more meeting this month, right?
Yes.
Yes.
On the 27th.
We do the 27th, and then we go to what, the 11th?
11th.
Yeah,
11th.
11th, and then every
And then,
second
Second
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
per the charter, to
Right.
those, and if there's an emergency meeting, we'll address it.
So that's all.
So that would
Everybody's
be
good with that?
July 11 and August.
If you can do this,
I think it's August
you can do
8th.
this out of from your head, but
We won't guess.
Eighth.
August 8th.
I don't know, I'm just making it up.
July
Is it?
11th?
It's August 8th.
Looks like August 8th.
August 8th.
okay.
Denise, you don't see that as imposing any hardships on anything you have going?
if it did, I would let you know, like the,
Then we can always.
a meeting ahead.
Okay.
So the next meeting, I would tell you if I anticipate that we have so much for the 11th that it's not practical to not have a second meeting. But I think probably would be a little slow anyway in the summer.
My only concern, and we can always call a meeting, but there are some rather large projects in town that might require some action.
I
by the-
won't,
and
I
don't
won't
want-
let that jeopardize.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
All right, now we're gonna wait a minute. 1 minute.
You just don't want to commit.
Sorry, guys.
Because you know if you go early, it's going to be around, they go, a lot of this became here. That's the way life is.
I appreciate that.
Only I can see it.
I know.
Carolyn said she liked it too. They're not as fancy as yours.
Sweater or jacket.
I'm feeling underdressed now that my socks don't look like, they're just plain black.
He's doing green fire.
Oh, those are pretty cool socks. They look like racing socks.
Mine looks a bit like that.
Matilda,
Come on, glad you
cool
have it
name.
on my side.
Nice. These are even better. Summer wear. Ready? All right. So we're going to have a public hearing for the change of Pride store managers. The reason for the public hearing is to discuss requests for a change of manager for Pride stores. Council members from left to right. Don Anderson, Eric Madison, Paul Federici, Kevin Manley, Kathleen Hill, and Michael Kane. This time I'm going to open the public meeting and ask the clerk to read the notice into record.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws that Pride Stores LLC, 13 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, has applied for a change in manager from Paul L. Francor to Jeremy R. Skiba. The town council will hold a public hearing on this application on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017, at 6:30 p.m. in the Council on Aging Meeting Room, 328 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts.
This meeting is being recorded. I'll ask all persons who are speaking to identify themselves clearly and state their address for the record. I'll now have the applicant present the change of manager to the council.
My name is Ray Sagart, 659 Piper Road, West Springfield, Mass. I am the liquors manager for Pride Stores.
Jeremy Skiba, 14 Bithers Street, Springfield, Mass.
Thank you.
We are here to petition to approve Jeremy as a manager for the beer and wine license at 13 North Main Street for Pride Stores. Jeremy has been with us for the past 18 months. He has experience with the beer and wine. He has completed the beer and wine alcohol training from the Mass Package Store Association. We anticipate him to be on premise 45 to 50 hours a week. He will also be available by cell phone any other time. He lives in close proximity to the store, can be there relatively quick time. He has prior experience before coming to work for Pride in the restaurant industry, including locations that have served alcohol in the past. He has not been a manager of record on any license in the state before, so this will be his first time for that. And he does understand his duties and responsibilities as the manager, including carding and IDing policies.
At this time, I'm going to open the hearing for public input. All right, looks like there is none. Now that we don't have any public input, I'll close the public hearing and let the council discuss the matter. So at this time, we're going to close the public hearing. So,
All the paperwork's covered, taking all the
Yeah.
required training. There's nothing in the record that indicates any reason to deny him, but, so, I think we're good to go.
I think, yeah, it looks fine to me.
Again, just to be clear, this is the one in at the Rotary. Is right. There are multiple Pride locations. Right, which get public's watching.
All right, so at this point, I'll entertain the motion to approve the chain of manager for Pride stores.
I
So
move
moved.
that we,
Go ahead.
good.
I would just said, so move.
Okay, I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now we gotta wait 10 more minutes,
Yeah, one
Do a recess.
take some more business out of,
out of order.
What we got here?
You don't have
Water rates.
Water rates.
You could
no,
probably
that's gonna
do the
require
sewer and
more
water rates.
conversation.
You think so?
You've,
I just wanna know
you've
why
had
we're
that
raising it.
since
Someone
last
got
meeting,
some
right? So,
It's a good question.
Yeah, so,
Uh,
there's probably a good reason for it, I
Well,
just
according to,
asked.
what, the sewer rate, you mean?
Yeah.
You ready?
I think she said that they anticipated that revenue, that is, when they anticipated revenue, they anticipated that was the figure, is what I understand, but maybe
That's
Denise
what-
could
that's
chime
what
in
it
when it
said.
comes out, yeah.
What,
All right, so we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
or the end.
Let's take 9B1. I'll entertain a motion to take 9B1 out of order for the accelerated repair for the schools.
we have
She's out there
time?
waiting for us.
10 minutes, cover that?
Can you do that in 10 minutes, you think?
Be challenging for me, but I'll keep them there.
You got it, Bill? You're all set? All right. Very good.
Motion made.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
You don't have
All in
Sarah
favor?
Aye.
Are you okay with that, Sarah?
Yes.
This way you guys don't have to wait.
Thank you. Everybody have information?
We do.
So is this coming with good news?
Well, we're hoping.
We think
Preliminary,
so.
good news, preliminary.
Maybe.
It's a definite maybe.
Sort of. It's
Twice
informational.
tonight, Gordon, boy,
Hey, it's
you're
not
on
a
fire.
definite. No, that's
Must be
good.
getting
That's
toward the
right.
end of the school year.
Have to keep your sense of humor.
Looking
right?
forward to vacation or something going on over here.
Summer does allow us to at least know that our day is our day.
Yes, we're at
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, thank you for the opportunity to update everyone on the accelerated repair project for the Meadowbrook School. This was the project, if you remember, that we submitted back in February. And on the sheet, which I think all of you at your places, but I have extras if anybody needs one, just a bulleted list of informational items, and I'll go through, I won't read every one for you, but to Mr. Madison's point, one of the pieces of good news that we received in the last few months was that as you go down the bullet points, it's a project that looks to replace the roof, the windows and doors at Meadowbrook. And as we were putting all the information together for the statement of interest, one of the cost estimates that we put together was the $741,000 that you see about the fourth bullet point down, and that was based on projects that the Mass School Building Authority puts on their website that had similar square footage. What we didn't realize until we had two representatives from the Mass School Building Authority come to Meadowbrook, walk the roof with us, walk the exterior, looking at the windows and all the doors, was that they divide the design work, the study work, and the consultation into 4 parts. So this was exciting for us. Hopefully it's exciting for you. The $741,000 can be divided by 4. So should we be invited into the accelerated repair program somewhere around June 21st, the amount of money that we would need to appropriate as a town is $185,250. So that makes that first step into the MSBA process a little bit easier. The program lives up to its name in terms of the accelerated piece, as once we are invited in, trying to be confident, so I'm going to say, once we are invited in,
Fair enough.
we then have 1 week where we have to report to their board meeting on the 28th, go through the details of how their program works, how their process works, some of which you see on the bullet points as you go down the sheet, such as if they invite us in, then the municipality, any municipality has 60 days to appropriate the money for that feasibility study and the initial schematic design. Once doing that, we'd be able to sign an agreement with them, and the reimbursement process would start as we start to pay costs on
It's
that.
pay as you go, which is wonderful.
Thank you. Yep, pay as you go. Although we don't have the exact amount, in the fall when the MSBA came to visit the high school, they were projecting at that time they were somewhere around 53 to 54% reimbursement. That may go up.
Yeah.
It could. It's unlikely it's going to go down too much, but hopefully it will go up. So along those lines, we wanted to make sure that you have this information and answer any questions that you may have, as we're hoping that next week we're invited in, and that we're going to be headed to that meeting on the 28th. And within that same time frame, we probably come back to the 27th meeting if we get that good news, and that might be the time for the discussion as to how to appropriate the money for that first part.
That 185,000.
On the back, I believe, if it's double-sided, just provided some next steps, some of which I've already said. We received a decision somewhere around the 21st. We're invited into the accelerated repair program. We would need to appropriate that $185,250 for the feasibility study and the initial schematic design work. In somewhere in the winter of 2017-2018, they feel that design work and study will be done. So we would either, if it was really accelerated, we would go to their December board meeting. If it's taken a little bit longer, we would go to their February board meeting. Then in that initial design work, we would have more specific costs for the entire project. So the numbers that you see on the front of the page, those are our estimates, using their examples and our original facility study. My hope is that as we get numbers that are more specific, we're going to see those numbers come down off the original estimates, and at that time, we would start to work towards appropriating what the full cost of the project is, and the time frame, I believe, from that board meeting is somewhere around 90 days.
90 days.
The only issue with that is, once we get into this, Meadowbrook, this is the agreement where we don't touch Meadowbrook for 20 years.
20
You
years.
get this, you don't
Correct.
get it.
Yeah.
But you're confident that with
We
those
can
repairs-
touch Meadowbrook, we
Well,
just can't
we
have the
apply for
MSBA
that.
reimburse
Reimburse
us.
us.
Fair enough, good
Yeah.
point.
And you're confident that with the scope of this work, that would position Meadowbrook to be in a good spot?
I believe so.
Okay.
Excuse me. You were just talking about the Department of Public Works. They do a fantastic job, and we work really closely, especially with Bruce Penny. We feel that if we replace the roof, which definitely is in need of replacement, the windows are original to the building. Not all the doors are original to the building, but many of them are. If we're able to take care of
Those are the big
those
tickets.
major items, the boiler's already been replaced, and we can do the rest of the
Other things on
maintenance
capitals,
and
yeah.
keep Meadowbrook viable as our pre-K to 2 school for the foreseeable future.
Have you gotten a sense or any signals from MSBA that lead you to be
I'm
hopeful?
always pretty optimistic.
Oh, I
so
know you're always
any-
positive
If they
and
return my
optimistic.
call, I'm feeling, we're in.
And they came out to it.
That's a good signal.
They did come out. That's
Right.
always,
I think
That's always a
as
good,
much as they
Yeah.
downplay that, that
Yeah.
seems to
That's
indicate
pretty-
that you're in
that's a
their
pretty good
discussions.
litmus test.
Correct.
We did try to, get that information on May 31st when we were on the phone with them, but they said we had to wait
It's
until.
mostly guarded, but
Yeah.
to your point, Kathy, yeah, it's always a good litmus
Yeah.
test when they show up.
Gordon, the total appropriations before the project from the town would be 741,000?
No, that was the initial estimate for the feasibility study all 4 phases of the design work and the consultation. Consultation basically is that owner project manager that if you work through the MSBA, you need to have one. They have vetted a few different options in that area, but basically it's a lottery where,
Okay, so, but you said the first phase is down to 185, 250.
correct.
So there's 3 other phases after that.
So those
All
would
like
be
numbers?
all included in that initial design work. And so what
Okay.
I'm estimating, if you look at the estimated project cost and you add the roof and the windows and doors, that's about 2.9 million. The hope will be when the design work is done, that we'll have numbers that are, well, they will be much more specific and hopefully they'll be lower.
Okay, I guess where my question was going.
741 is included in that.
From the appropriation, if we appropriate 185
1,000.
at the next meeting before July 1st, do you anticipate any further appropriations be needed to get us to that point where they start banging nails between July 1 and...
Okay, so. And now I
The
understand your
reason I
question.
bring that up is, in all likelihood, most of this would be recommended to be taken from free cash. After July 1st, free cash is not available to us until it's
Correct.
recertified by the state. We still have stabilization fund, although that's kind of a,
Sure.
it's not always popular to use the stabilization fund.
Correct.
But with that said, there are other avenues, but I'm just trying to anticipate, if there's other funds needed, then maybe we should put them in reserve now for that.
Sure, I mean, I can answer the appropriation question, but I would certainly welcome.
Feel free to pull
All
a chair up,
support.
Sarah, or a team.
She's
The
hiding behind you, so she
185
doesn't have to answer that.
would take us through to whatever meeting we would need to go to, whether it be
To
December or February.
Then we're good, because free cash is recertified by October.
Okay.
So we're good, okay.
And then we would have better numbers to, and the remainder of the 741 would be included in those numbers. So it would be then the appropriation for the remainder of the three phases of design work and consultation, as well as the construction.
Okay. I just didn't want to get us into a position where
Absolutely,
somewhere
no. I apologize.
in late August, we
Understand the question
needed
at
to make
first.
another appropriation, didn't have the available funds to do it with. I wanted
Right.
to make sure that we...
I appreciate that, thank you.
And if the timing all pans out, it should fall right when we're appropriating the capital for the following year anyway. The timeline we've mapped out.
Good.
And Gordon, the 2.9 million, would that be the full cost, or
Full
that's
cost.
the town's share?
That's our estimate of the full cost of the project.
And then based on a, give or take, 53%.
Right.
So-
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so roughly a little more.
What
than
they
that.
ask you to do is appropriate the
The
full
full,
cost,
yes.
and then they start reimbursing you
On the
according to
hazard
their schedule.
Got it.
Yeah.
Gordon, thank you. If I could.
Sure.
I'm sure people want to know when you get approved. I'll keep your positive attitude.
Thank you.
We
And
like
when
that.
this all goes through, when would you start, when do you think construction would start? Because I assume you'd have to do it in the summer?
So, that's a great question. That's the way we generally do large capital projects. I think the MSBA might push the envelope a little bit, and so I'm sure that whenever we appropriate the funding, we would sign the agreement, and then they would have to go through the bid process. That's going to take some time anyway, but I'm sure that they're going to not necessarily wait for the next summer, if you will. They're going to start and accomplish what they can, and the happy reorganization of the schedule of the building will fall upon us and the principal and assistant principal.
But I do recall Kevin Sullivan from MSBA saying that he definitely works with towns. I mean, that's the goal,
Right.
is that if it's, the appropriation goes through and we have all the support, they certainly want to work with the towns to make this work. So I felt that there was a little leeway there if we were close.
That is work with them, right? Tell them you guys fixed the problem with the schedule and we'll do the work. That's,
But when they're giving you 53%, you can't complain.
Yes, exactly.
But as we get more information on this, we'll be sure to forward it.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, and hopefully we'll see you next week, or next, our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah, that's the hope, thank you.
so you'll be at the next meeting?
Hopefully,
No.
27, yeah.
keeping a good thought.
I don't know by the 21st.
So, and we'll hopefully come back.
That is accelerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Impressed.
very much accelerated. Don't forget about
Thank
the
you.
core project, that's still out there too,
Nine.
for the high school.
Yeah, that's still up there.
The tour?
We're working very
The
closely
tour
with,
project would be the high school.
right.
But you don't hear on that till what,
We
late
won't hear on that
November?
until
November?
anywhere between November and January.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're working very closely with Denise and Sarah
Good.
to make sure that we're providing all the information and structuring it in the best way possible so that we can then present to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully we see you
Get that done in 15 minutes?
You
Well,
did,
you
good.
did 17, so,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
there were
you,
questions.
you held, you held true to form, Gordon.
Yeah, you did the public hearing now, but I'm just saying,
I'll take that.
You can just go,
Yes.
you can just go away.
No,
Go to the drive up. It doesn't-
next
There you go.
Wednesday,
That
June
doesn't
21st. Yeah, yeah.
No, we're waiting.
If they're
No,
gonna be
yeah, but it's all right. You
invited
can be
and
late,
then
you
they
can't
have
be early, right?
That's right.
Isn't that how it works?
on the
I'll just
28th
let you
to
have to
Boston
jump
to hear about how they go forward.
This machine right here.
You're good. Crucial.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they're not invited.
Oh, yeah, once you announce the public hearing already.
And there's a chance of it being.
Right, if they're not
So now
invited.
we're gonna do a public hearing for Bentley's Bistro to extend their hours of operation for serving alcohol.
And I will be recusing myself from this.
And I also will be recusing myself.
And not because he has a Yankee shirt on.
Not
I like
because he has a
Yankees.
Yankee shirt. About 5 years ago, I represented MES LLC, and as part of the job was to appear before the planning board as well as the Board of Selectmen and discuss hours of operation.
Just
Let me know when it's ready.
just a quick question, anything we're doing tonight doesn't require a supermajority, does it?
No.
Didn't think so, but
No.
it's worth.
No, I know, it's worth a
bringing up.
question.
Yeah.
So the reason for the public hearing is to extend the hours of operation for serving alcoholic beverages on Saturdays and Sundays at Bentley's from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturday and 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Sundays. Council members from left to right is Eric Madison, Kevin Manley, Kathleen Hill, and Michael Kane. It's a public hearing. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and have the clerk read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws that MES LLC, DBA Bentley's Bistro, 53 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, Christopher Frey, manager, has applied for an extension of their hours of operation for serving alcoholic beverages on Saturdays and Sundays to be changed to 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Saturday and 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Sunday. The Town Council will hold a public hearing on this application on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017, at 6:45 p.m. in the Council on Aging Media Room, 328 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts.
The meeting's being recorded, so I'll ask anybody that's going to be speaking, please identify yourself clearly and state your name and address for the record. At this time, I'll have the applicant present their reasoning to the council for their extended hours of operation. Larry, how are you?
Good, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, my name is Larry Levine. I have an office at 56 Summers Road here in East Long Meadow, and I'm here representing MES LLC, DBA Bentley's Bistro on North Main Street. On their behalf, we attended a planning board meeting on May 2nd for amending our special permit to increase our hours of operation for every day of the week to serve breakfast beginning at 8 a.m. We're here before the town council tonight, and I have with me Principals Joe Garcia, and in the back Vincent and Lisa Santaniello, asking that the council approve increasing the hours of dispensing alcohol on Saturdays and Sundays to commence at 10 a.m. on each of those days. There's been a demand since we started serving, especially brunch on Saturday and Sunday, to allow patrons to have a cocktail with brunch. I have researched, there have been no issues with Bentley's Bistro regarding any complaints, etc. And we think it's a reasonable request and ask for your consideration.
All right, thanks, Larry. Now I'm going to have the Any public input? Don't all stand up at once. All right, that's two easy hearings. At this point, I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. President, do we have any other restaurants in town serving alcohol on Saturdays and Sundays prior to noontime?
No, believe that Villa Napolitano does, because they have brunch there, and Pasquale's May. I don't know off the top of my head. I had the document too. I think I might have it in my briefcase. But,
Close the public hearing and don't decide tonight because you want additional information.
I need additional information.
hold on, Kathy, here you go.
Let's get that.
I knew I had it.
Here's the spreadsheet.
Did you make that spreadsheet?
So we can still close the public.
So at this point, anyway, I'm going to close the public hearing while she reviews that, and so then the council will discuss this matter, and then we'll move forward.
One question, if I
Yeah,
may.
go ahead.
So the only change you're requesting is rather than opening or start serving at 11 a.m., start serving at 10 a.m.? Yes. Monday through, or
Just Saturday
Monday
and
through
Sunday.
Sunday? Just Saturday and Sunday?
Just Saturday and Sunday.
And realistically, there's no extension on the back end.
That's correct.
It's the
And
front.
state law does permit that with your blessing.
Yep.
So it's so according to this, it
Go ahead,
looks
Kathy.
like Mario's Cafe, and I don't see Villa Napolitano on here for Sunday entertainment. So it's Mario's at this point. Does that concur, Mr. Levine? with-
I have, no, I don't know the answer.
Don't know
to
the
your
answer,
question.
okay.
I have no concerns.
Mike?
I would just ask Jim, I know we're trying to standardize things pretty much across the board with the restaurants when we're talking about amending the bylaws. You know, this is different. This applies toward a brunch, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's on the opening end too. I mean, most of the, typically speaking, and this is in no way reflected at the applicant, but typically speaking, when problems arise at a facility, it's the closing hours, not the opening hours. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's a good
Well,
point.
it's-
It's
it's-
2 in the
it's-
morning, then you're.
It's
more-
Saturday and Sunday, right? You're looking for
Right,
2
and-
days,
Just two.
right?
And
1 hour,
people,
2 days a
people
week.
who are going there at 10 a.m. for brunch aren't necessarily going to have multiple drinks.
It's
at
kind
that
of hard
time
to
of
have a
day.
brunch and not be able to offer
A mimosa.
beverage with it,
Yes.
right? So, I would be okay with that at this point.
Yeah, I'm all right. Kathy?
I'm good.
All right, so I'll entertain them. Go ahead, Eric.
so I'll move that the council approve the application as submitted for the extension of hours from 10 a.m., from 11 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturday and from 11 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday as well.
So moved.
So let's move to the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And
Oh, you want me to let the other
No,
council
if there's
members know?
personnel.
we were gonna do the other one for them
If
because both of them were
Mario's is
gonna
doing
accuse themselves
brunches and
anyway.
serving alcohol, they have no leg to stand on.
I'd rather see
But I
the
just gotta look at,
more toward a brunch than the complaints I'm getting from the
oh,
night.
yeah.
Well, on the second subject, any chance we can take a brief recess?
Yeah. Hold on.
I move that we take a 5-minute
5-minute
recess.
recess. Come back at 7.
Seconded.
There's a motion for a recess, 5-minute recess.
Oh, okay.
So it's moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. I don't want to. All right. So we have a temporary beer and entertainment permit for the Carnival Beer Garden for June 29th through July 30th. The applicants are Bentley's Bistro. The hours are gonna be the 29th, 6 to 11, actually 6 to 11, the 29th through the 3rd. They have their liability insurance. Tip certification.
It was pointed out to me today, something that's missing on the application itself. Under entertainment, which is after the event date, about halfway, third of the way down the page, it says if yes, and they've checked yes, the type of entertainment is on the application. So, or on the information that I provided you, the three proposals that I sent to you
Electronically,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't realize you got it electronically along with my report in that
Oh,
same
with your report?
packet.
Okay. All right, now it's
I
making
gave you a
sense.
copy of the annual report that's being posted online.
I saw
and-
that as I was coming out the door, so
Yeah,
I'll
and there are
open it now.
the three proposals, and in the proposal for Bentley's, it says what their entertainment would be. I think it was bands or something.
Yeah, they had just clarified one three-piece band ensemble every night,
Okay.
one three-piece band.
Because it was suggested maybe what you could do is just say as proposed. I mean, they can add to this permit, or we can add something that says as proposed in the proposal.
I have some initial questions, I think, Mr. through the chair. Denise?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
I keep seeing this phrase, spirit of East Long Meadow, and to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware that that entity, at least it didn't exist a month ago, so can you give some background on that?
It did not exist. It still is a thought, from what I understand. Because the Carnival fireworks parade was the parade was always a go. And this parade committee is something that was formed prior. It's outside of the town's committees. So I honestly don't know how it was formed. That's the piece that was done. The carnival, once it was, we were approached about doing the carnival. I signed a contract with the carnival folks. The details of how they were going to be setting up the fencing and the hours that were proposed, were they the same as last year? Ryan, being the parade committee chair, had that history. So he said, I'll handle that. That was fine with me. Beer tent then became an issue. The carnival guy did not want to do anything with the beer. Ryan proposed that he would, under the parade committee, which he would like to form into, either change the name to Spirit of East Long Meadow, so that it could encompass more. As I was reporting tonight, we can do the Taste of East Long Meadow under that. We can do various kinds of community kind of events. There's a bonfire in the fall that you all have. Stuff like that could be under that committee. But it is yet to be formed. Now, I mentioned that earlier. Paul Federici said that he could get a tax ID number for that by tomorrow. I don't know if there's more to the committee that needs to be done. I went to Sarah when I saw the proposal that said that donations would go to the Spirit of East Long Meadow, knowing that right now there is no such committee.
Right.
And I spoke to Ryan about it today, and Sarah suggested that we can form or start a gift account called the Spirit of East Long Meadow, because the intent of it would be that going forward, any money that was left in that account could be used for next year's fireworks, so that we're not scrambling like we are this year. The carnival will be something totally different. I don't know what the vision is for working on that. But, and that pretty much self-funds. In fact, it's funding a lot of other pieces as well. So the committee is not one that's done right now. An alternative is either have the proposal amended to include some other way of donating the money, or as Councilman Federici suggested, tax ID can be, the committee, I guess, could be formed of private citizens is what I understand.
So who, right now, what entity, I don't want to use the word awarded, decided which applicant was, I mean, it's an easy, I think I would have gone the same way too. One of them wants to give 20%, one of them wants to give 45%.
Right.
Back to the community. That's a no-brainer to me. But with that said, who made that decision?
As the town representative, I did not want to be involved in the liquor piece of anything because I did not want that liability to be part of the town. Ryan, again, as the parade person, said, you know what, I can help out, I can form the committee, and he did letters that he passed by me, a letter that asked anybody for a proposal. The alternative was to just pick somebody.
And how did that request for proposal get advertised?
It was sent to all the restaurants in town that either expressed an interest or
Just for the record, it was not sent to them,
it was restaurants, right,
it was never sent to the nonprofit that
that you had.
expressed an interest. To me, that's an issue.
My question is
Who selected it was Will
Oh.
Arment, Paul Federici, and Don.
Right,
Oh, no,
he asked, you asked who formed the committee. Ryan stepped up saying, look, I've done, the carnival stuff is done, the parade stuff is done. He actually did the legwork, he did a little letterhead that says, Spirit of East Long Meadow, asking for proposals. The best proposal will be, decided on by noon on whatever the date was, last Thursday, Friday I think it was, and he's the one that selected the committee.
And how did he go about recruiting people for the committee?
I don't know that.
I'm a little troubled by how all this is coming together. And I'm particularly troubled by the fact that one of our council colleagues, whose fiduciary responsibility is to issue licenses, is on the vetting committee and has recused himself from this discussion and the previous because of some affiliation with the petitioner that I don't know enough about his affiliation, but this does not feel right to me. And I guess, Denise, I'm sorry, through the chair.
No, go ahead.
You said a few minutes back that you did not want to be involved in any way as the manager of the town. With the liquor piece. But, and I respect that and would agree, but now if Ryan through AKA East Long Meadow Parade Committee morphs this into some other group called Spirit of East Long Meadow, does that in fact then bind us to be responsible under the liquor issues?
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
This is like, I don't want to use JC, let's use Rotary. This is that's what he pitched to me.
It's an external organization.
Like a totally external
Okay.
organization.
The problem is it doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
Not-
and
not at
I'd
this
like to ask
time.
our town attorney a couple of questions on this, if I may. Jim, right now, I have no issues with the applicant or the application itself. Where I'm concerned is that it almost feels like the town is now in the business of providing alcoholic beverages, if you in one way, shape, or form by obtaining a vendor and bring them in and all that for the July 4th celebrations. I'm not sure that's a good business for the town to be in. Normally, in the past, it was all, externally done, right? And the only business the town had was okaying an application for the license or not. But this feels like, you've heard the whole conversation here. Do you see that same risk? Am I being abundantly cautious.
I've heard the conversation. I don't understand the intricacies of how it's actually being worked between the entities that are being discussed. But I don't really understand how the town is related to this situation at all, except that some representative of the community or representatives of the community are recommending or putting forth support for a local business who's looking for the ability to serve food and beverages at the carnival. That's what I see is happening here. And I don't know enough about the process that's been used to get to that point to be able to answer your question.
Well, and I guess that's it. The
We don't know
process is
enough about
such
it
that
either.
there was not, currently is not a private entity performing those functions. It's, and this is where it gets a little cloudy between town employees and you know.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
And
true.
that's
He's
what
an
a lot of
employee
this
of
is.
the town.
The majority of this
Yeah.
is being conducted by town employees. And although they may not be using
Acting
town
as,
letterhead.
yeah.
so to
And they
speak.
weren't acting in their employee capacity, they were acting as volunteers of this parade committee. So, just for one step of clarification, I think Jim is sort of hitting the same place that I was coming to, but understand, I was really once removed from a lot of it. In fact, when they were doing the decision-making, I was in another meeting for something else in the conference room. But at the end of the day, the liability, nothing has to do with us. It's Bentley's or whoever the restaurant is that picks up the liability for that. They take on all the permitting, that's why the permitting is coming to you all. The insurance, everything is not, and that was all my concern was. We don't want to be the ones.
So you don't see
doing
any overwhelmingly gaping holes of liability here and what's going on at this?
The only really concern that I have is I don't know enough about the process by which there was the determination that this entity was going to be the one that was going to apply for the license to work at the carnival. As far as the manager has said, with respect to once a license is granted to this entity, and if there's any issue with service or problems with the product, the food, or the alcohol, if someone gets sick, those are all issues that don't fall back to the community, but fall to the vendor under their policies of insurance. But to answer your question as to how we got to this point, I don't have enough of a history as to how we got here to be able to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's not the question that's before us, actually. The process isn't the question that's before us. The question is the application.
But in fact,
But
though,
if it's not a town-run function, we have no oversight.
We should have some oversight if we're issuing a permit. If we're gonna issue a liquor license based on a process, we need to ensure that the process was done correctly, that there was no issue with the process. I'm not voting for a liquor license when I don't know what the process was to select the guy that got here.
Well,
Or the business, and it's nothing against Bentley's, but I'm not
But
gonna
in
sit
all
here and put a
fairness,
vote.
Counselor-
Hold on.
Hold on until they ask.
In all fairness, I'm not gonna sit here and vote for something where I have no idea what the process was, nor does anybody else in this room. That's not correct.
But it's not the question
right.
before
It's
you.
not right.
I agree,
question
it's not
before
the
you.
question before us, and I want to be on the record, I have no issues whatsoever with the vendor.
I'm not talking
None.
about the issue with the
But
vendor.
it's inherent in the decision that is before us is all of these questions that nobody can answer
Mr.
concretely.
No, you can answer it.
Well, I don't think it's any different than the Kicks bonfire when Fazio's gets it 3 years in a row. And you issue, not you were here, but personally, you issue a liquor license. I never had an opportunity to bid on that. It's always gone to the same vendor, and the selectmen have always just issued the license to Fazio's because that's who they chose. They're a private entity.
Do you know how the
forming
process went for that?
with,
Like, what is this,
I have
what
no
is
idea
the
how the
selection
Kicks-
criteria?
This one here?
No, the one you
No
referred
idea.
to.
The
Well,
one
but
you
that goes
referred
to
that's-
exactly our
that just
point
goes to the
before.
permit.
But what I'm saying is it's a private vendor who can choose whoever they really want as a distributor of the beer. the town has no involvement in that if it's a private vendor. The only thing
I
you're
follow what
involved in
you're
is
saying. I'm just
issuing a
saying-
liquor license, and it falls back on my restaurant to have the proper liquor liability, tip certification, all comes back on me.
Yeah,
So
I'm
the
not-
only thing we're asking for is the liquor license to be issued to us. And, we're working through the private vendor.
I think
But the
that's,
private vendor doesn't even exist, because there is no such thing as a Spirit of East Long Meadow. They're not even a private, they're not a nonprofit.
but if the question I asked if this was a town entity operation, and the answer I'm getting is no, it's not. So therefore, we have no oversight in any process that got us
How
to
it
this
was
point.
done.
Essentially, what we're asked here is the application in order, and are we gonna approve the application?
Then
It
I'll
has
entertain
nothing
a
to do
motion
with
to
the
approve the
process.
application.
Well,
So moved.
It's moved, is there a second? There is no second.
Okay.
Motion dead.
I'd like to entertain a motion to table this for now until we have more concrete information. That's the motion.
So,
For the record, I think we're
Discussion.
making decisions based upon the wrong point. The process, I understand your issues with the process. I'm not saying I disagree with your issues with the process. What I'm saying is, we as a
I
council
follow
have
you.
no purview over those issues.
Is there a second
The
for that
only
motion?
question before us,
Was it seconded?
no, it wasn't. The only question before us is, are we gonna grant the license or not? If it's not a town entity that ran the process, we have no oversight over that.
I don't disagree.
Is there a motion
So,
on the floor?
There is a
There
motion
is,
on the
but
floor
we
to
need a
table the
second
issue.
to be able to
It's not been
discuss it.
seconded.
Right, so Tom could post a date.
No, we didn't, nobody
Nobody
seconded my
seconded the
motion.
Well,
councilors,
I'll
what I would like
second
to
it.
inform you though is that we were on, we're
Yeah.
at a time
There's
frame
not
here as
time.
far as staffing. This event is in a week and a half, setting tents up. There's a lot of work that has to be done here. And if I'm put on hold here, it's gonna be a dead issue for anybody to take this over. And I really urge the council to consider that, I think that the jurisdiction of what you guys are doing is just to grant us a liquor license to extend it over there. I don't think the process of what he used, and I know that he went to every restaurant and hand delivered those to every restaurant. Whether it's the private clubs or not, I'm not sure if he went to those, but I know there were several applicants that put their proposals in. And they had a deadline and a time to have it in by, and it was time stamped, and everything was on the up and up as far as, as I know. So we had to get it all in and all the paperwork together. If we're put on hold, then I don't think anybody's, to come back in front of you guys, I don't think there's another meeting this is the 29th.
Can we just let them do the process for a second?
Yeah.
Because there's a motion on the floor and nobody's seconded it.
I'd like to hear the motion again.
The motion was essentially to table it or take no action until we have further understanding of the process to identify a recommended vendor for a license.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it's moved and seconded.
So,
Discussion?
Yeah.
I just think that is, it's as good as not doing anything because of the timeframes involved.
I
think we need
recognize
to make a
that.
decision tonight so that they know in what direction that we're going. And again, I would only reiterate, whether you like it or not, the process isn't under our purview, the way it appears.
Can I speak to the motion? So to echo Mr. Santinielo's concern, if we don't do something fairly quickly,
Understood.
it means that there will be no beer tent at the carnival. That's that. I can certainly have Ryan, we can have a special meeting if you like, and have Ryan come and explain the process. I'm sure he's willing to do that. I spoke to him late this afternoon about the process to make sure that there were no ethical boundaries that were crossed, and he assured me there was none. So
I
to
take
have-
issue with that. I certainly think there's ethical boundaries that are
From
crossed.
Ryan. This is from Ryan.
Correct, but-
Who was the committee?
There's our colleague sat on the vetting committee. That's a conflict of interest in the purest form. And because he has to also through the chair, sign off on the license.
But I don't believe he voted, it was 2-0 out of 3
No.
people before he
But he
voted.
knows better
Doesn't
than to
matter.
even put himself in that position,
The problem
and
is
we all do.
whether his vote was relevant, and
He
it's
said- he
nothing
said
against
he-
you.
Right.
No, it is nothing against
He's
you,
recusing
Does the
himself from this
meeting we're
process.
talking about?
but he shouldn't be in that position
Has
to
to be
begin with.
posted. How
I
long?
know that, and we're
48 hours.
comparing, we're not talking
Yeah,
about the
well,
issue.
So it would be
Meeting, we're talking about a meeting, does the meeting have to be
48 hours,
posted, right?
yes.
How
48
long?
hours. 48 hours. So probably the
Well,
quickest would have a
Would be
meeting,
like
would be
next
Friday
Monday.
night. We could have a meeting Friday night.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That's a
right.
crazy night,
And,
though. But maybe Monday.
I have staff beer that's being held, tents that are held at Taylor Rental that they're holding. I mean, this has been, you know, the entertainment is locked in, and I didn't realize this was gonna be an issue as far as, you know, your concerns there, but I do state the same thing. I never had an opportunity to bid on kicks in a bonfire. It was always one vendor, because it's a private entity that formed that group, and I'm right across the street. I would have liked to have done that business myself, but, you know, it wasn't offered to anybody in town, and it was never a question on how they went out and advertised it for anybody. They picked their own vendor.
And we would agree that would be improper as well.
That's what you're preventing.
Right, and so as we go forward beyond this issue, I think it behooves us that we have to standardize a lot of things around licensure.
The problem is, how do we hold the business owner accountable for
Right.
all their issues?
Right.
That raises a concern.
No, I mean
And that's what we're
about
dealing
a
with here.
particular vendor being automatically awarded
that's-
over and
I
over.
follow you.
That
I'm
process,
just saying
not
that-
the vendor.
And maybe
So-
it can be that the town asks for the vendors, and maybe that process comes to the council. You know, you all get the proposals, and it could have been decided this evening instead of by this committee. But y'all have to understand, this has been a fire drill every
Absolutely.
week for every single piece to get done. So I
What's your-
handed off that piece.
Excuse me for
It's
a
on
second.
me. you
What's
know?
your layout so far? I mean, obviously, you've tied up a whole bunch of,
I have everything ready to go. I have all the beer vendors, the tents are on hold at Taylor Rental, the staff is in place, entertainment's in place, the fencing's the next thing that I have to work on, and pretty much I'm ready to go. And it's been 3 or 4 days of hard work to put this together.
I don't dispute that, because I know it was last minute like a fire drill anyway, I get that. I just.
No, but I mean, as far as us, you know, bringing in East Long, and what we're doing is we're keeping East Long Meadow vendors. You know, Taylor, I can go anywhere, but, you know, we worked with Taylor Rental, and he's been great to us on the pricing, and the same thing with the food products that we're putting out. It's not gonna be just Bentley's Bistros, we're using Zonin sausages, we're using La Florentina's pastry. You know, we're gonna bring in other vendors from East Long Meadow and make it, you know, a universal thing. We'd like to keep it in town, everything that we're doing.
We need to vote on Kathy's motion that's been moved and second. Table. Which I don't think is gonna solve us anything, so.
I'm gonna,
One way or another.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna withdraw that motion, under the circumstances of time being of the essence, but I wanna be on the record that I think there has been some impropriety on this council by our colleague. And that puts us in a murky situation tonight, and unfortunately would jam up Mr. Santinello in a matter that he's taken great pains to, work through and be prepared to go forward, so.
So I would only reiterate what I've said, that although I'm certainly not gonna try to justify any process that was used, I'm only gonna state that it was not a town-run process and therefore not under our purview. And we're not being asked to judge on the process. We're being asked to
Understood.
approve a license. With that in mind, we'll remake the motion that we approve the license before us to Bentley's as approved, or as submitted.
Is there a second?
So moved.
So it's moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mike? Are you in favor or opposed?
I would like a little bit more information, but I understand time is of the essence, so.
So we still don't know if you in favor or opposed.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this was dumped on me in the 12th hour, and
If,
I want to make sure that things were
if I might
were done
suggest,
properly.
at this date, it's almost impossible to get to the council a history and a procedure as to what was followed and what should be done, or to set up a game plan as to what should be done going forward in the future. So, I mean, I have every reason to believe that the process that was followed, I have no reason to believe that it wasn't appropriate. Would there have been different things that you would have preferred to have done as a council with respect to this, or the manager would have preferred? Perhaps, but this is the first time it's occurred under the new form of government. So my suggestion would be, given the timing of the way this is set, and given the fact that the Carnival and the 4th of July celebration has always been an odd man out with respect to municipal involvement. We've funded money, but not really funded money, had control, but not really had control. So perhaps going forward, the manager and the council can determine how, if at all, you want to see this structured going forward for future years, next year and going forward. But for this year, given the timing of this, if you want this carnival to have the amenities that the others have had in the recent past, it probably makes some sense to award the license as you voted, and to direct the town to come back to you with the process for review as to how this is going to be done in the future, or to understand how it's going to be done, whether it's within your purview or not. We don't really know as to how it's going to, what the entity is going to be next year or the year after, who's going to be running it. So that might be the best policy to forward, and not throw all of the current celebration into an uncertainty.
I agree with the town attorney, and certainly you all know my frustration with this whole process anyway. So to do it differently is absolutely what will happen next year. The JCs are the ones that had it last year. They're not even in the picture. So, and this parade committee, I don't understand how it was formed, but the council, on my recommendation, funded money for that parade, which somehow gets to that parade committee that was formed under the previous government. So we need to certainly absolutely look at the process for the whole celebration. We can't have the town in a libelous, relationship for doing liquor and all of that, but there's got to be a better way to do it, certainly, than there is now. I would caution, if you do go forward with the license, that we still have the issue of the 35% of the profits going to the Spirit of East Long Meadow that is not yet an entity. So, but you don't have everybody.
With all due respect, that's not a condition of the license. That's entirely up to the vendor in the organization which he was dealing with. It's not a town-run function, and it's between the vendor and the entity that chose them. And if it wasn't a town entity that chose them, then we have no purview over that. It can't be a condition of the license.
So their proposal cannot be a condition of the license? You're not making,
Does that make sense to you,
you're
Jim?
not allowing the license because of their proposal?
My understanding is that the whole operation of the site, where it's going to be held and all of this, is under the control of the parade committee, or the entity that's having the entertainment for the site, and that agreement is with the current applicant as to what the proceeds that are generated from that event are going to, those are going to be distributed, but it's not a condition of the license itself.
That's troubling.
So then we have an
Only
issue.
because they're not yet an entity.
So if we were to grant the license, we don't know where the funds are going at this point in time.
We know that there's a 10%
35%.
going to the Council on Aging is all that we know.
So we
Right.
do?
That's
So we do
correct.
know? So we do know?
10% to the Council on Aging and 35
It's in a proposal.
35%.
Right, what I'm
Is it
saying
total
is-
35% or total
Yes.
45%?
What I'm saying is their proposal is not with the town,
Under
it can't
purview.
become a condition of the license.
Right, I mean, this is,
That's all I'm
it's a
saying.
little complicated. I mean, this, you know, just so everybody knows, this was dropped on us in the last hour. I knew nothing about this until I came in pretty much, so I had none of the facts. And when people are bidding for this, then I'm wondering, is it a condition of the license? You know, we're saying no, and that's why I'm asking, so let's enter into some dialogue here so that I can make an educated vote on this.
It's not a
And when I'm
condition.
hearing that, you know, different proportions, we picked the vendor
Jim
basing
just-
on the proportions
Jim just answered it.
and how they
It's
were
not a
divided.
condition.
The town attorney just answered it, that it's
Right,
not a
and that's,
condition.
and that's part of what I was waiting for. I said, I don't have enough information at this point. Where I was going with it from there was if you posted, if we said we need a little bit more time to get a little bit more information, then if it was posted, is there enough time for us to meet, have another member possibly available, and not, you know, ruin his dream of being able to do this and changing what's happened in the town of East Long Meadow for years and years. But time, I'm hearing, time is of the essence, right?
Urgent,
You're right up against
very
it.
much so.
Okay.
We're talking 2 weeks away.
So I'm glad we got into this dialogue because I feel a little bit more comfortable now.
So would it be in order then to call for a revote of my motion, Mr. President?
Yeah, because where were we on that?
We kind
Two
of,
voted
We
and
have to
two
vote on
didn't.
the license.
So, two
So
voted
we
in
have to
favor
vote on
and
the
two didn't
license.
vote.
Yep. We have to vote on the license.
Right.
Okay.
So all in favor of Eric's motion to approve the license?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Mr. Centeno, just our apologies for being stuck in the middle of that.
beer.
That whole thing.
And how do we deal with the money? It's just like giving it to the JC.
It's,
Who cares? But I will say this.
We have to get this straightened
Just so
out.
you know, the ITM was going to give 18% to the town.
pardon?
The,
The ITM, the veterans were going to give 18% to the town.
And there's nobody here from that tonight, right?
no, because they weren't, it wasn't recommended. It was recommended that Bentley's be given the license.
I'll do the research on how that parade committee came to be, first of
It was just basically that the long-standing
Bill,
parade committee.
can you give me the history on the parade committee? Because I know you're on it.
all. Oh, you're on it. Why weren't you talking before?
Because I've only been on it for 2 years, so I don't.
But it's been a long-standing committee. It's going well back
Well,
into the
it's,
history.
the folks that run it now stepped up after the original.
Right.
Carl and
Okay,
whatnot
I can
decided
give
to
you
call it quits.
what, I can give you my brief history. 2 years ago, there was a small article in the Reminder looking for
Looking for
volunteers for the parade committee because a lot of the old timers were
We're retiring.
retiring. I stepped up. Ryan has been working with Carl Olin as basically co-chairs to lead the
Carl
group.
Owen, that's who it was, yeah.
And that's how I got involved.
But it's just really, at this point, just the three of you, right?
No,
No,
there's a number of us. There
But-
are different, you know,
There's a number of folks, and
Right.
for the most part, there's more newer faces now than original faces?
Correct.
Okay.
they needed new blood to keep the committee going, and that's how I got involved. So I don't really know the whole backstory to the parade committee.
Paul, was the
And how do
parade
they
committee?
access public funds?
Well, that's a line item, isn't it?
Say that again?
It's a
How do
budget
they
item.
access public funds?
It's a budget item
But if
at
they're
the
not
time.
a town entity, how are they accessing public funds?
But again, I think it
Because
goes
it's
back,
It
appropriated.
gets
It's
appropriated every
appropriated.
year,
Town
yeah.
meeting, well,
And then do
now
they
by
get
the
a
council,
check?
but
$17,500
The way it's-
for the parade.
yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So they come to us and tell us what we need to pay, basically.
What they
And
do,
the
what.
town pays it?
Well, they submitted a budget, I'm
Yeah, well, no, it's too
presuming
late.
it
Too bad
pays for
Sarah left,
bands
because she
and,
could explain the whole thing, but what basically happens is the town pays the bands.
Right.
They don't pay, they don't give it
committee.
to the
They don't
parade
pay.
committee itself, but they pay for the
It's like
bands.
an
That's their,
invoice.
that's their, exactly.
We submit the
Yeah.
For
invoice,
every
the invoice
band
is
Okay,
submits an
so
invoice,
that
and
makes
then,
sense.
and then Denise, you're Denise. And then,
The other Menard.
The other one,
yeah,
too many Menards.
yeah.
And then Sarah writes a check to each individual band,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
So, for years, because of that, for years, the Appropriations Committee
I know they
always
never
recommended
recommend not
against
to
it.
do it. I know
For a
that.
number of reasons. One, you're basically, paying for something that's the purview of a private entity. But the other reason was, we always felt it was a little ridiculous to beat people up over their budget so much to try to save money and
And then
recommend
have a
it,
parade.
and then have a
Pay
parade
for a parade.
with town taxpayer money. That was always, a bone of contention with it.
Spirit East Sun Meadow can pay for it next year.
And we were defeated every year, overwhelmingly at town meeting. So,
Right.
yeah, so.
But I think it's-
A motion would come from the floor and the,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we,
No,
the
we would-
motion would go on.
Correct.
We would
But it
present
would-
the
yes.
recommendation of the
Right, it would be-
appropriations. Actually, the Appropriations Committee would recommend against.
I mean, this whole thing is steeped in history that goes well beyond us.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And that's why I think it was automatic. It was just part of whatever's gonna happen at town meeting.
Right.
Yeah, because basically, because I presented it for a few years, no matter what they said, it was passed.
Passed,
You know,
correct.
because it was, it's
They
part
knew.
of the town
Appropriations
history.
knew, right.
Yeah, it's
I
part
know.
of the town history, and it's part, it's something that hundreds of thousands of people, or 100,000 people want to take advantage of, so.
We have a bylaw committee that's been waiting all night.
Yes.
Yeah, Larry.
Larry generated income here.
Right on, Larry, with those socks of yours. You're up.
Larry, I know you generated income tonight, so I'm not too concerned about you sitting there. So.
Yeah, but poor Marilyn, she's here for free.
That's true.
It's like her date night, only she left her date at home.
He's the lucky one.
Yeah.
Good point, Marilyn, that's a good point.
Hi.
Hi.
Again.
Yeah, we're still here.
Boy, you're like a bad penny. So you actually submitted a whole bunch of changes to us.
Yes, we did.
Not a whole bunch, but enough to
Well,
keep you busy.
About that much.
Yeah.
It's a little more than I'm ready to read right this minute.
I'd like to begin by saying this is an incredible amount of work that I applaud the three of you and the rest of your committee for.
Oh, thank you.
For me.
I know it was last minute that you got notified, the board got, your committee got notified that we
But
were.
luckily, we haven't violated open meeting law,
Right.
because there are only three of us.
Good point. See, when we get lemons, get lemonade, Larry, right? I guess.
I didn't do it.
Lemons and lemonade.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's calling you lemons.
So I want to say, first things first is I'd like to thank you as the president of the council, and for the council to take it on, and I know you've had your own meetings.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I will tell you that there were 8 of us on the committee, one alternate, Anthony Yanni, Marilyn Richards, she was in charge of Vice, Bill Fonseca, I want to see who was awake.
Yeah.
Ray Miller,
I wonder if she left her husband
Pete
off.
Levesque, George Kingston, who was our secretary and did an amazing job. Who else am I?
Tom O'Connor.
Tom O'Connor. Have I included everyone?
Ray Miller.
And Ray Miller. And I will tell you also, the esteemed Jim Donahue attended all of our meetings. We had at least 20 meetings. He was invaluable as a resource. And this committee did a great job.
I won't disagree with you.
And it's tedious work,
Yes, it is.
by anybody's definition.
I've gone through most of the changes, and I think most of the changes have been right in line with the changes of the charter, to bring it in line. What I haven't had time to go over is the recommendations made by your committee that were not part of the charter change. Can you speak to those briefly?
Well, there are many suggested change, well, at least ones we want you to think about. We thought that the purpose of our committee was geared to just compare the bylaws with the charter and make so there was no conflict within those. In going through the process and going through the bylaws versus the charter, there were issues that really it's up to the council to make those decisions rather than the bylaw
Right.
committee. And so you can see we have good 2 pages of things you should think about, and we did not think it was within our purview to make those decisions.
So some of these look like just, and I haven't looked at the actual chapters or sections that have been cited in them, but some of them look like they're gonna be relatively easy to do if in fact we choose to do them, but some of them look more cumbersome.
Yes.
So let me ask, would your committee be willing to take on the more cumbersome aspects of it if the council decides, yeah, you're right, that needs updating?
Following our last meeting, I got, all right?
They all ran
not a
out
no.
the door?
They're exhausted. This was a lot of work.
Yes, it was. I think you meant, if you said 20
And
times.
so I don't have an
you want more than we
answer.
have.
I can ask, but I would suggest you do compare.
Right.
I think we have
Let
to
us
do some
know
homework
what
first.
you need from us, and then I will speak to our members. But, you know, the process was completed, and I didn't want to push anyone to that point.
Fair enough.
Fair point. So, Mr. President, on the work that they have completed, would it be reasonable to ask if the council reviews this and then possibly we hold the public hearing in our July meeting?
Yeah, I
And
think that gives us
would
plenty of time to actually
that-
sit down and
right.
go over it, then compare the suggested changes and see where we are with that. I
Yeah,
think that's
not
reasonable.
the ones, not the
No, you're
the ones
talking
that
about the
they're
ones that are already
they think should be
strikeouts.
done
the ones
too,
that are
right? The
done.
ones they have done that we should.
Where they want some more.
We can review them.
Yeah.
And then that'll give us time, and if we just, if we schedule now the public hearing on our July meeting, then we can probably act upon them at our August meeting in, by, you know, early fall, put that much of it to bed. In the meantime, we can look at
The other ones.
the other ones and say, yeah, they're right, a lot of these need, and then decide how we're gonna go about that. Maybe we can buy them pizza and soda and talk them into doing it.
Beer.
You have to buy a lot of soda.
say
Larry.
beer?
I don't drink.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I know a guy that's got a beer permit though.
That was tongue in cheek.
We know where we could
Right, we'll
go.
meet at the beer tent.
Meet at the beer tent at the Carnival.
There you go.
This on the July meeting for this.
I think that's a good idea.
I
to-
have one question.
Yeah, Mike.
We have to read this two
Time
straight meetings.
sensitive, how time sensitive,
Do we
sensitive
want
is
to do
this
it
to
in
getting done?
stages because of
We have 90 days, I
volume?
think,
Yeah.
from
90.
the date of submission.
From date of submission.
From the day that they received, that we received them.
Yes.
We have 90 days to act on it.
Is that considered the second, or is that
What was
considered
that
today?
date? Do we know?
Well, we approved it the
Second.
23rd.
So that would be
So-
the second.
So we get till September 2nd.
Till
So-
September
September 2nd?
Okay, so why don't we start in July like we talked about, right? And then we'll
Right.
flow over into August, and we know we've got to get it done by
September 2nd.
September 2.
Okay.
Just a clarification, if I would, Ken, on our charter. Does this in its entirety have to be read at two meetings, right? Isn't
I
that,
think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so
you better
just from a
be-
logistic point of view, is it worth,
Oh, reading word for word?
I'm trying to understand what the intent of, I'm reading what the charter says, I just want to make sure, is that what the intent of, we have a couple members of the charter commission
I'd
right
have to
here.
review it and see exactly what it says.
Oh,
You remember that,
that's gonna
Larry?
necessitate-
No.
Yeah, I'll pull it,
I don't,
But you have to publish anyway.
no, it has to be read at two meetings.
maybe it's like, maybe it's like for comments or edits.
Can't you waive the reading?
You can waive it.
I think you can.
I think you can.
See what it says.
Yeah, yeah.
You could probably waive that second reading.
That'd be nice.
You
but-
can waive both readings as long.
Well, they can have the first reading at the public hearing and then waive the second one to vote on.
That's fine.
Well, if we're
I'm
just
not a
reading it,
lawyer,
we could
but-
read it at our
Yeah.
next meeting.
You can,
right?
you can
There's
have
no
it
lawyer at the
available.
table, right?
Yeah,
What's
there's a
that?
couple.
There's not a lawyer up there at the table,
Nah.
is there?
There might be a.
No,
Jim,
I'm
do we
not.
have to read?
I'm not.
Normally,
let's
you
see
have
what the
a
lawyer-
wait a minute.
document with the number of changes, what you generally do, rather than read all of the changes into the record, you have a printed document that has the changes and ask for a motion to waive the reading, but to make the document part of the minutes so it's there.
there you go.
And then you discuss the overall changes unless there's a specific.
Just like that, yeah.
Perfect, that's your answer. We're going with that.
What, page 7?
I'd also, in that kind of a motion, make it available to the public at, like, the town clerk's office, in case somebody's
You put it
watching it.
online?
That's right.
We could put it online, but, yeah,
Right.
but also, some people just like the hard copy.
No, I know, I'm one of those people that prefers a hard copy.
Then-
It's just, one second.
But they could get one from the
That's the
town clerk.
emails that I was trying to find all this other stuff, which I'd rather not look at.
The way I read it, prior to final passage, each introduced bylaw shall be read at 2 separate council meetings.
But they were just told we could waive, we were just told we could waive
Put
it.
it in as an
Does it
official
say
Yeah,
anything about
document, it's
waiving?
document, waive the reading.
To be read by reference or read word for word?
No, I think read by reference.
You could call fire or something.
Okay.
You could ask Ernstine Cowley.
That's,
No,
well, didn't ask,
not-
read it, you remember, you've been at our meetings, word for word.
No, read by reference.
Wasn't it, this was just answered by Jim.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I wanted, just like I said, because I wanted to make sure what we did at town meeting was as printed in the warrant.
Right.
We used to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Correct.
The wording here is a little more precise, so that's why I wanted to make sure that historically, what we've done, and no disputing that, rises to the, the language here meets that same criteria. Can we just say, as printed in the publication, or does it have to be read word for word for word?
Jim just answered that.
I know, but that's the reason for the question. I guess.
So I guess back to my original then, does that make sense to have
Yes.
the
Yes.
public hearing in
Do
July
that on the
and
11th.
then move on it?
What is it we do in the
11th?
11th? Yeah, July 11th.
Right,
Yeah.
so we'll have to somehow
Set the-
read it, post it for the 11th, and then have a second meeting where it's read again,
Go ahead.
and then
Right,
vote on it.
the August meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll make sure that.
Could we read it at our next
It's not gonna
meeting?
happen.
Well, we don't have to read it.
We have to,
We
to.
can discuss it.
We can discuss, we don't have, we can publish it, and we can have it written and have it, that go into the record. We don't have to actually read it.
Can you discuss it either prior to the public hearing or after the first public hearing? Because if that's the
Yes.
case, then you probably should have the public hearing, which is just sort of procedure, at the next meeting, so that you've had time to look at it. If you have questions by the, the first meeting in July, or the only meeting in July, you have some time to maybe get some clarifications on things before you have the second public hearing, no? I mean, it wouldn't
We only
take a
need
lot
one
of
public-
time.
Only
It's
need one
two.
public hearing.
I thought they said two.
No, we have to read it twice.
Oh, you have to read it
One public
twice.
hearing.
Right,
One
right.
public
Read it.
hearing.
It's gotta be read twice.
But we will, we'll have one more meeting this month, so everybody, all the
Yeah.
council members can go read through it and take notes on any
So we
concerns
should
they have.
have it on that agenda as well, this next
Oh, yeah,
agenda
yeah,
as
but
well.
not as a public hearing.
Okay.
The public hearing would be July.
Two readings, and that's why I
July
said,
11th.
could one of our readings be.
And then we can act on it in the August meeting.
Right?
So July 11th, we'll do the public hearing for the bylaw
And we'll also have a
revisions.
public hearing for the ordinance for the marijuana.
No, I don't want to hear it.
We're gonna do the public hearing on the 11th, Larry, for the
Okay.
bylaw revision, so that gives us some time to take a look at them, whatever, then we'll do the public hearing, get the input, which, it's like today's public hearings, there's not much input, but
And in the meantime, we'll go through your recommendations on the other things that you didn't make changes on and make some decisions about how we're gonna proceed
Good.
on that.
Good.
so again, thank you for your diligence on your committee.
So it'll
That
be on
was-
the next
Our
agenda.
pleasure.
We'd love to dump some more work on you, so if you just, want to
Got a
sign up
feeling
for
that
that,
might
we'd
Keep
be
the
happy.
troops, yeah.
I got a feeling that might happen.
Rally the troops.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
What Kevin meant to say was, we'd like you to use your expertise to continue on this path. As opposed to dump some more
What'd I
money
say?
on me.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Anything for the town.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
You want it?
I've got one.
Great reading.
It is riveting.
Water and sewer rates.
I did have some questions.
I did talk to Sarah Menard and asked her about this, and what she shared with me is as we all know, we buy our water from Springfield. They are increasing, and in their planning of the budget, they decided not to have too much of a hit to the town, so they increased they suggested an increase to the sewer rate and leaving the water rates pretty much the same. And this is going to be part of a phased increase so that we're not going to be hit too hard with the Springfield increase. But this increase will not offset entirely what the Springfield increase is. Is that your understanding too, Denise?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is exactly.
Okay, I wasn't aware of the increases. That partially answers one of my questions. But on both the water and the sewer, Denise, had significant surpluses at the end of the fiscal year. You see, water was almost $1 million at $943,000.
Yes.
And the sewer was somewhat less than that at $405,000. And I guess, I understand how surpluses occur and how they happen, which is they're not necessarily budgeted, but my original question was gonna be if we're coming in with a surplus every year on the sewer, why would we go up on the rates? But now I wasn't aware of the increase on
There
the
is an
rates on it.
increase, and actually there are places in the connections to Springfield that are not metered right now, that we have hit the deadline for them to start metering. So that's going to be a more accurate reading, and we anticipate that the rates will go up significantly.
Were those points estimated in the past, or just not figured into the calculation?
They have been something that has been discussed, according to Bob, over a long period of time. And they just now, Springfield, I guess, is being asked to be more accurate, so they're asking us to be more accurate. So I think the time is up, kind of.
No, I understand that,
They
but
knew.
what I mean, in the past, has the sewerage that passed through it been estimated?
Just estimated,
Oh, it
right.
was, so, but it wasn't free?
Oh, no, no,
Okay,
oh,
it
no.
was estimated.
It was,
So
but
it
it's
could
like your
potentially
electric
go
bill
down.
that's estimated versus the real
Right.
bill. It could be a nice surprise, but most likely not.
You're an optimist, I mean, you're a pessimist.
It's a surprise, all right, but not a
You
happy.
need to take the attitude that Gordon has, be happy. More positive around here.
So the $1 million surplus, nearly $1 million surplus in the water, that's just gonna go into the, they don't have a free cash, they call it a,
Enterprise fund.
Yeah, the
well, yeah,
enterprise,
but they,
yeah.
Undesignated fund, what's the undesignated
There.
fund called?
Th-
Retained earnings, thank you, Don. Retained earnings. You knew what I was
The
getting at.
man behind the booth.
He's like the Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz back
You
there.
knew what I was
Pay no attention to the man behind the booth.
Is there future plans for that? That's a significant amount in such a small.
I don't recall, but I know there is a lot of infrastructure work that is constantly needed, so, I don't recall, and I don't know if Bob addressed it in his memo. Did you read his memo? I don't recall.
Quickly, I don't think he did. Most of his memo was explaining what each one of the pages that was attachments were,
Yeah,
and not necessarily the data or an explanation of the data on it. But, okay. But with the fees going up, then I guess the rate, my biggest question was the rate going up with the sewer when we were deriving the surplus from previous fiscal years. Why would we do that? But now with the rates, with the charge from Springfield going up, then I understand it a little better.
well, becoming more accurate is what's gonna happen, so,
But you said there's a rate increase as well.
yes,
Okay, so between the two, we need to cover it.
yeah.
And we won't,
Got it.
this increase won't cover it, we're still gonna have
Put
to
some money in
dip
from
into
this.
account,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna
Dip
hit the
into it,
town as
yeah.
hard.
Right.
I mean, it's not the town's people
Well, the
as hard as the
enterprise.
town is getting hit with Springfield increase,
Right.
is what she said.
And
I
that-
really relied on the Board of Public Works expertise on this. to set the rates.
And just,
So just for the folks out there that we're talking about it like they know, the rates being suggested are $3.05 per 100 cubic feet for the sewer rates. And for the water rates. And for the sewer rates, an increase from $2.80 per 100 cubic feet to $2.95 per 100 cubic feet, which is obviously a 15-cent increase per 100 cubic feet.
Second.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah.
So I would move that I move to keep the water rates at $3.05 per 100 cubic feet for fiscal year 2018. Said rate has been factored into the Water Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2018.
So moved.
second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Further, I move that to increase the sewer rates from $2.80 to $2.95 per 100 cubic feet for fiscal year 2018. Said new rates have been factored into the Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2018.
So moved. It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Easiest thing to get all done. Jim? Good for you. Thanks for coming.
Mr. President, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Seconded. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.